So within these racks, we have our Scarlett, which is our main kind of thing that we're running all of our audio stuff through. So these are channels 1 through 10. Through here, it then links up to the radial and then sends that information through to our backup audio interfaces, which are the Motus. Unfortunately, the radials only have 8 channels instead of 9. So anytime that we need to switch over to the backup rig, synth bass is routed down channel 9. It's kind of like the quickest thing that we felt okay being like, that'll drop out, and the impact is low. And so it'll switch over to the Motu automatically. You'll know because over here you'll see this A-B light. A means that it's on the primary machine. B means that the computer has stopped and it's switched over to the backup rig. Okay? A is green and it's the primary machine. B is yellow. It's switched over to the backup rig. And that means that you've lost synth bass, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Okay? And then the other thing that you'll notice, which we're kind of trying to get on, but we haven't quite figured out yet, is every once in a while coming into a weekend, you'll see that the standby button is on and lit up like this. You'll see the flashing light is red. That means that this interface is no longer being used. If the 1K turns off, it won't switch over. It'll just be done. Okay. So coming into the weekend, I would just go ahead and unselect that. That happens just because of the way that we're doing students right now. We don't use the backup rig. So just check that when you're coming into a weekend. Make sure that it's unselected, that the light for the standby isn't flashing on. Okay. And then the other thing that you need to know is how do we know that the machine is, that the radial, that the thing that kind of like the 1K tone goes through, is getting signal. It's super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and start number 1. So we're going to hear this welcome loop. And you'll see here that it is here on the green light. Yes. And it will just keep doing that. Let's see if this switches over. It did. So we're kind of in the middle of figuring out 1K tone a little bit and getting that just solidified so that we don't have any like switch back and forth. But the point is that it's switching and switches right back and you didn't even notice. So how we know that it works is that I would say just before like a run through or whatever, just go ahead and start it on your machine here. Oh, that's funny. Start on your machine here. If I'm looking over at this guy over here, we can see that it's kind of tracking along. And to check to see if it'll switch over without skipping a beat, we just want to push spacebar on the primary machine, and the 1K tone will stop here, and it'll switch us over to the other side. So let's check it out. It's tracking, and then to test it. Oh, it's there, but there's no synth bass. So that's kind of that's the situation. We'll see on here that it's switched over to the B light, and that's kind of like the basics of the audio rig here.